Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be talking about some important stuff regarding Safemoon, including John connected to the exploit, the taking of the liquidity, and I have three extremely important questions that you as a Safemoon investor should be asking. First question is the hacker giving the LP back, and if so, how much? Many times there are people that are watching for contracts to be deployed, and if there's any way to basically drain the funds, whether it be through hacking or through the contract, they will do so and take the liquidity, and then they will offer the liquidity back to the project for a fee, say 5 to 10%. If the person who did this to Safemoon was doing this, they could get $400,000 to $800,000. Second really important question to be asked is the LP insured? And if not, did John lie to everyone? Everybody was under the assumption that the LP was insured because John said so, and we all just took his word for it a while ago whenever he told us back that, hey guys, the LP is insured. If it's not insured, then that either means that John lied to everybody about that, or it means that John just didn't know what he was talking about, and neither of those scenarios is going to produce trust in the future of Safemoon. Third question is, if the hacker isn't returning the liquidity pool, then where did Safemoon get the funds to inject the LP? And how does that affect what those funds would have been used on? Meaning, if they're having to use funds out of the treasury, where did those funds come from? Did they come from pulling out of the liquidity pool, or was Safemoon just have enough volume off of V2 tax and from swap partners to get those funds? That's a good question. And most importantly, if they have to use those funds, that means that they're having to use $9 million of what was intended to pay, salaries, marketing, and devs to work on Safemoon that they're not going to have anymore. These are three important questions you should be focusing on at the moment. We're going to jump over to David B. Smith. This is John's uncle, and he just made a post, and the post says, Monday evening, John hears that the judge is unlikely to liquidate his mother's company, which, by the way, would return only $100K from his $5 million investment. Who would want that deal? And the next morning, code is inserted that allows for an LP exploit. Coincidence? John's uncle is basically hinting that he thinks that John actually is the reason behind the exploit that was pushed out into the code that allowed for the liquidity pool to be taken. I personally don't think John did, but it's still possible. Like, if John disappears, then it'd be like, okay, yeah, he took the LP and he's just disappearing. But you can also hack yourself, blame it on a wallet that nobody can connect it to, and then nobody would ever know that you did that to yourself, right? So this is pretty important. Charles Caroni, since he left Safemoon, has never spoken, and this is the first time that he's really said anything. This is what he has to say. He said, I'm adding my unsolicited opinion, thoughts on the recent events, specifically on the obvious shortcomings of specific leadership. In the simplest manner I can say, Captain Hoddle just outright isn't smart enough to steal the LP like some theories suggest. Charles Caroni says, from prior experience, the most involvement he likely had was some arbitrary deadline that he put in place because he has no idea what he's talking about or any clue how to do it. Here's some examples off the top of my head to illustrate. So he's giving us some accounts of what happened behind the scenes during Safemoon's time. He said, making my mom set up and pay his utilities on the mansion he purchased. Pretty simple, basic adulting, wouldn't you think? So he had his mom paying his utilities for the mansion that he bought with probably the liquidity that he took from the Bitmart, selling Safemoon on Bitmart. Blowing out the transmission on a stage 3 R8 he overpaid after being told to be careful with it. Pretty simple to listen to the previous owner. Ruining a BMW by driving it on the salt flats. Pretty simple to not do that, and common knowledge for anyone in Utah. I could go on, but the bottom line is he's just as inept professionally as he is with everything else. Trust John. I'm not on Twitter enough to have beef with any of the army. John is just a moron who has no regard for anyone but himself and Gabe. Sorry, his wallet. Oh, and he delayed the announcement of me leaving last year because of low volume community unrest. So I just want to say something. This is extremely important to anybody who's still watching this. Charles Caroni, John's brother, who worked closely with John at Safemoon, is confirming the gabe wallet, which is extremely important since so many people fight tooth and nail, and I bet they'll still deny this. I mean, we already had enough proof to prove that that was the gabe wallet, but now his own brother who worked there is saying, yeah, that's his wallet. Another thing is that kind of going on to say is that he is convinced that from his experience with John, that John's only concerned with himself and that he is terrible at doing his job. If you guys didn't know, John Caroni is releasing a book. The new book is called If I Did It. It's a book about how if he did take the Safemoon LP, this is how he would have stolen it. So, yeah, look forward to that book coming out. Hit the like to get this content out to more people. This is actually really important to people's investment. I don't want Safemoon to fail, but I think that John's just been destroying it the whole time. And anybody who's been pointing to John's actions and talking about it, they get attacked, even though John's the one who's doing it. And we're like, hey, John's the one that ruined everything for us. He's the one that took the LP. He's the one that can't launch products. He's the one that's own family turned their backs on him. And he's the one who's lied to us about Thomas, about Ryan, about people quitting, who doesn't give us the answers to where he got his money, who doesn't fight the FUD while everybody fights it for him. I mean, John has single-handedly destroyed one of the easiest home run projects of the century. And the people that are left, the real maxis, they have their heads so far up their asses that it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if John dies, murders people, goes to prison. It doesn't matter. They're going to support this no matter what. And at that point, it's you're either such a delusional cultist, or you're so far down, or you have way too much invested in this that you've taken in your emotions to a level of denying reality that is unheard of. It's going to be an extremely shocking wake up for some people. I do feel that the future of Safemoon, the most likely case going forward, is the potential of John to just move on from the project, John to actually go to jail, or there is, I guess, a slim chance of John just moving on and screwing the small amount of people that follow him to the bitter end for as long as possible. So yeah, once again, extremely important to know, are they getting the funds back from the hacker? Because I bet they're just not going to answer these things. If they are getting funds back, is the hacker being paid? Is he getting 5%, 10%? And if we're not getting the funds back from the hacker, are they using the treasury, or what are they using, and what would that have been used on? There's no positive to this. It's so hilarious that people are bullish on Safemoon after the entire LP, or most of the LP, gets taken and stolen because they deployed a contract that they didn't audit and didn't check. It's just blows my mind that you can be bullish on Safemoon after something like that and not have any real constructive criticism for your own project. All that does to everybody on the outside is it screams that you're delusional, that you're hypocritical, that you have no standards of judgment that's worth trusting at all. Only people that are maxis that agree with you and reinforce that belief inside of you. And no matter what, it's all a negative impact on the future of Safemoon. Many people think Safemoon's already dead. I think that the end of Safemoon. So when I talk about the end of Safemoon, what I really mean is the final moments of Safemoon before people actually move on totally from the project. And I think that involves the price going to a point that is unrecoverable, and John quitting, and the team, HQ, everything, the money shutting down, and there not being anybody working on the project, and you'll just be left with a couple people who will just keep buying the dip no matter what. If you guys know any good projects that could use videos like mine, reach out to me on Twitter at CryptoControl3, and I can get in touch with you or the projects. If it's a good project, I can cover them and make a good video for them. If you guys need any dev work done, if you know a project that needs dev work done, you can also reach out to me. This team can help you create your own project. Please drop a like. It's a small way of rewarding my hours of work that I put into these videos, and I appreciate everybody who does that. If you guys haven't seen my other content, then check out this video on a new AI blockchain that's still in its seed round phases that's going to be launching at the end of the year. I personally am extremely bullish on that project, so do me a favor, check out that video and let me know what you think.